Welcome back to the corner, everyone. I'm the DM as always, and today, yes, I know I want to take another look at a Jazzarus video, and I've debated, I've gone back and forth with myself as to whether or not I actually want to do this video. But he has some points that he brings up that I want to talk about, and I'm going to try and keep this video a little bit brief because I just tried to do a video, and I was like 3 minutes in, and this video was already like 12 minutes long. So
right now,
let's just get into it.
the Mythic Plus system is completely destroyed. It is stupid. Because I thought when they released the new Mythic Plus system, when they reduce the key levels, like now a +2 is like a +12 before or something like that, and it is like a +10 or something like that, and a +20 is like a +10 before. I thought, oh, this is good for the community because now you are condensing the player base, and lower numbers is always cooler. You give people a reason to go and do heroics and mythic zeros. So I supported this. But now in practice, it is being stupid because the dungeons are too hard and you don't get invited. For example, I want to get invited to this necrotic wake. I am going to apply. They are not going to take me. This Arakara 6, I already did a 6. I don't want to do a 6. Another 7. Why am I applying to 7s? Because that is what I need. As you can see here, I already did 6 and 5s. The only way for me to continue progressing is doing 5s. I have almost 1800 rating. This is not a bad rating, and I've been stuck here since week 1. I got this rating in week 1, and I have been stuck because people don't invite me to the groups, and I don't have a bad item level. I have 613, and I can't upgrade it because I don't have the currency to upgrade it because I don't get invited to the dungeons. I have my crafted gear. I have my 4-piece. I am good at the game. I could easily destroy a +9 or a +10. This is not a system where you say, oh, get good, brother, get good. I think I am good enough for this +7, but they are not going to invite me, brother. Look at this. And you could say, no, it is the spec. Survival Hunter is really good right now. It shouldn't be because of the spec. Look at this, +7. Those are the dungeons that I need to do now, but they don't take me, brother. And this is happening to my friends that play this game. They are stuck at +4, at +5. And this is insane, brother. And this is as a DPS. Maybe declined.
All right, so I want to just pause here real quick and talk about this. So when I played back in Legion, this was still a problem. So back in Legion, I played a Feral Druid. To my knowledge, from what I remember, Feral wasn't exactly like super high on the list of like classes or specs that did really well, right? However, I was able on a Feral Druid, without getting carried, to get up to a +14 with my own key. Okay, I used other people's keys, obviously. I mostly played with friends because getting invited into a dungeon or into a Mythic Plus dungeon as a Feral Druid was almost fucking impossible because people just didn't want to. And the reason why is because of tier lists. Now, this is over on Icy Veins. This is for the War Within, okay? And you can see Survival Hunter is right here at 20, right? So it's within the top 25. But the issue is the way balancing works and the way that people are incentivized to play. They'll look at this kind of tier list and they'll see Survival Hunter and see that it's literally the best spec of the fucking hunters, right? So Marksman is under it. Beast Mastery is under it. It's literally the best hunter spec in the game right now, right? But people will look at it and be like, why would I want to take a Survival Hunter when I could take an Unholy Death Knight, right? But then they will be like, on top of that, why would I take an Unholy Death Knight when I could take a Frost Death Knight, right? So why would I take any of these other classes when I could just take this one, or an Assassination Rogue, or an Elemental Shaman, right? Why would I take any of these weaker classes when I can just wait to get one of these better ones, right? And this is what is... this is how the game works at a high level, right? Is a lot of people, not all of them, but a lot of them will look at these tier lists and be like, well, I don't want a survival hunter because it's only good. I don't want a good class. I want a great class. So I'm gonna just take one of these top 10 classes, right? And so you get into a situation like where he is, where people just don't want to take you because this tier list says you're not in the top 10, which is fucking retarded. Um, Taking Final Fantasy 14 for example, right? Final Fantasy 14 is balanced in such a way that uh, if your class, it doesn't matter what class you are, okay? That doesn't fucking matter. This applies to all classes universally. If your character has the minimum eye level for a raid or for an extreme, which is some of the hardest content in the game, your class has the capability of clearing that without issue. Just like end of story. Red Mage is arguably one of the, or at least at one point in time, was one of the worst performing DPS classes in the game. However, you could take 2 DPS, a healer, and a tank into it, and you'd be able to clear anything, no problem, right? In any of the dungeons. For the extremes, those parties are 2 tanks, 2 healers, and 4 DPS. Okay, and you could have 4 red mages. You could have 4 of any class, right? And it wouldn't really matter, right? Because the balancing is done in such a way that every class can clear the content without everyone else feeling like they're being held back or having to carry them. But for World of Warcraft, this is one of the biggest issues that they've had for a very long time, in that they just don't have good balancing. And with the homogenization of all their classes and making all classes have a gap closer, a disengage, a self-heal, a this, a that, a this, a that, all these classes have basically almost the same kits, and as a result of having nearly identical kits, players are even more incentivized to only take the best classes and the best performing specs.
As a tank or as a healer, you have a better time. But that is another problem. The pool for healers and for tanks is a really reduced pool. There are not enough healers. There are not enough tanks. And I think that Blizzard had to incentivize people to play tanks and to play healers some way, because right now healers and tanks get the same stuff that a DPS gets.
I'll talk about this more once he actually gets into a dungeon, because he does get into a dungeon later on in this video, and I'll point it out with the damage meter over here as to why people don't like playing tanks and healers in this game versus Final Fantasy.
And people like to play DPS more. I don't like playing healer or tank. I think that shit is boring.
It is
Sucking with DPS.
Tanks and healers in World of Warcraft have always fucking sucked playing as. It's always been fucking ass to play a tank or a healer in World of Warcraft.
So, not even with incentives to play tank or healer, I would play them. So, you have to give people an incentive to play those classes. Give them something. But they are not doing that. So you will say the thing that all the stupid people say, yes, but why don't you use your own key? Okay, I am going to get my own key. Let's see what happens. Nobody clicks on your thing. Nobody clicks on the key. And this is not a bad key. It is a +6 key. Okay, we got DPS. DPS always get to your key. But it is really hard to get a tank or a healer. They need to do something to get tanks or healers. Ooh.
One thing I want y'all to keep in mind is the item levels of the people joining his key. He, if I remember correctly, is 615. No, 613. Okay.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind. He is 613.
It is really hard to get a tank or a healer. They need to do.
So this guy so far is the only one to have matched his item level as 613. This guy's only 3. This guy is 5 item levels under.
Something
keep that in mind.
Or healers. Ooh, we already are 2 milli DPS. Do I want another milli DPS? No, I don't. 615, almost 2k. I am going to get this one.
So
Oh,
one
it's also
person.
survival. No.
So the 615, that's one that was above him. Everyone else so far has either been, there's been one above him, one at his level, sorry, two above him, one at his level. Everyone else has been under his item level.
This one is better than marksmanship. We are two survivors. I thought it was a normal hunter, bro. That is a big mistake on my part. So you say yes. What are you talking about? You people are clicking on your thing. Yes.
Yes, they are, but all of them have been DPS.
All DPS. Where are the healers? Where are the tanks? You can't form a group. So you take like half an hour to form your group, going to the dungeon, getting ready, and then half an hour more to do the dungeon. So you spend 1 hour to do a fucking Mythic Plus if you do it. Like if you get the group together and if you complete the key, because maybe the tank is a pussy bitch that when someone does something wrong,
so the tank is above him by one item level.
The healer is a pussy bitch that when the tank does something wrong, then you get out of the group. This system sucks in my opinion, and they need to do something about it. And look.
Alright, and then the healer that he's about to invite is 609. So also 4 item levels under him. So his item level is not like that low, right? It's above most of the people doing a +6. So at +7, most people are probably at least 613, you know, if not maybe a little under. Like 612 is probably like the lowest, right?
Look, I got a group right away.
So his item level isn't the issue here either.
This is faster than normal, brother. Maybe because this is a reset day. I don't know. But this is not what happens normally.
This is definitely because of reset day. More likely than not. But also, it's because he's recording. Anyone who has streamed or done content creation for a really long time knows that, like, when you start recording or streaming, the thing that usually doesn't happen is what happens. So if things usually go really quickly, things begin to take forever. When things usually take forever, they go really quickly. This is just a curse of recording or streaming.
This is absolutely
also
not
really
what
fucking cool
normally.
mount, by the way.
So in my opinion, what they need to do to improve the system are two things.
That dragon looks really fucking
cool. They
cool.
need to create a queue. A queue is better for everybody, bro. I don't know why they don't like the queue. People say, no, the queue is stupid because you can select the people that go into your group or whatever. It doesn't matter, brother. The queue is the best possible system. And then you have to eliminate the key reducing, right? You combine the queue with the key depleting. Don't deplete my key. That is stupid. And probably this one that I am going to do right here is going to be a deplete because this is a hard dungeon and people suck. Implement a queue. And in that queue, give an incentive for people to play healer and tank. They implemented this in the solo queue for the solo arena, for PvP, for solo shuffle. They did it so if you are a healer, you get more rewards. Do that for Mythic Plus. Even if you don't implement the queue, because you don't like the queue, because you are a pussy bitch and you don't wanna do the queue, still give more rewards to tanks and healers because those are the roles that take a long time to find when you put up your key.
So here I want to talk about key depletion. I 100% agree that they should implement a Mythic Plus queue system. The way they could do this and make it so that like it isn't just absolute garbage or isn't completely awful is, one, set a minimum eye level requirement for each tier, right? Based off of what is the expected amount of DPS, the expected amount of HPS, the expected amount of incoming damage, right? And set the item level to that. Number one. Number two, key depletion. I agree that, especially with the queue, they need to remove key depletion. Key depletion was the primary reason why I hated Mythic Plus, because if for any reason whatsoever, after you inserted your key, if you didn't complete it in time or whatever, your key depletes, right? And especially with like these forced pre-mades where you have to go and you have to find the party members and everything, um, people are fucking flakes. People will fucking abandon a Mythic Plus. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People will abandon a Mythic Plus like this after one wipe, after two wipes. They're just like, fuck it, not worth my time, and just abandon. And at that point, the moment one person abandons, especially if it's a fucking tank or a healer, the run's dead. If it's a tank or a healer, the run is just straight up dead, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because once you start the dungeon, unless it's changed, once you start the dungeon, you can't invite anyone else. You can't get another person to join the dungeon, right? You're locked in with whatever players are in the party. So if a tank or healer leave, you're just fucked. So it key depletion, like in concept, it sounds fine, right? If you're unable to finish the dungeon within a certain time because it's supposed to be a challenge mode or what the fuck ever, like it makes sense. Have it deplete, whatever. But when you have to spend, you have to take the time to actually organize a group, and then just to have someone flake, and one of those people be potentially the tank or healer, and that caused the entire run to just fucking die instantly because of it, having your key deplete fucking sucks. Because then you have to go back, you have to complete a tier or a dungeon that you've already fucking done, get no rewards for it, just to attempt the higher levels again. Right? With absolutely no fucking guarantee that you're gonna get fucking anything out of it other than another fucking depleted key.
So that is the first step that I think they should do, which is create a queue and give more rewards to tanks and healers. If you don't want to do the queue, still give more rewards to healers and tanks.
Oh yeah, and that's another thing. Yes, I do also agree that tanks and healers need to be rewarded. And this is something, even if you don't do the queue system, this is still something they can do dynamically, because on their back end, they have access to how many people are playing a tank spec and how many healers people are playing a healing spec, how many people are playing a DPS spec, right? They have information, they have a background, they have all this information in the back end, and they can easily link all of this information to a system because they already do this with their fucking random queue system for normal dungeons, right? Where it will say, this class is needed, and if you play this class, you get a bonus reward. And that shit changes dynamically based off of how many people are queuing. They can easily implement this into the fucking dungeon system, into the Mythic Plus system, where when the actual thing starts, it runs a check to see which specs or which types of specs are being played, which ones are being played the least, and then you just apply a bonus reward to those two to the two specs that have the least number of players playing them, right? Which is like in this case healer and tank specs, right? So you give them like an extra item at the end, or you give them an increased rarity on their item, or an increased item level for the items they receive, or some shit like that. This is something that is 100% very easy to implement for Blizzard.
But I prefer the queue because it is faster to just click the button and get to the dungeon that try to form a group. People don't take you. You publish your key. People don't try to get into your key. You waste a lot of time. And that is even me, that I have decent gear, playing a decent class, I have a decent Mythic Plus score rating. So what happens to a person that doesn't have any of that are playing a suboptimal class and people don't want to take them? Well, they are screwed. They get fucked in the ass. A queue would solve all of that.
Yeah, so anyone who thinks that a queue wouldn't solve that is a fucking idiot. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that the dungeon queue system itself exists, right? If a queue wouldn't solve these kind of issues, when Blizzard first implemented the dungeon queue system, no one would have fucking used it, and no one would be using it now. But you want to know something funny? People everywhere, people playing this game the world over Do not sit in Orgrimmar for 30 minutes trying to gather people, random people in Orgrimmar to go and do fucking Hellfire Chasm or whatever the fuck that first dungeon is called, the level like 15 one that's underneath Orgrimmar. People don't do that. No, what they do is they hit the fucking button that pops up the queue system, they hit Q, and then they sit there and they wait, or they continue questing. And then when the queue pops, they hit accept. No one says shit to each other, and they go and run the fucking dungeon. The dungeon gets completed, and they go about their fucking day. And if someone leaves, the group leader just goes, search for a new person. It searches for a new person. It brings them in. That person comes up. They help you complete the dungeon. Bada bing, bada motherfucking boom. Job done. If a queue system would not solve the issue of not being able to find players or having players that flake and making it so that the dungeon can't be completed, if a queue system doesn't fix that, the fucking queue system would not exist in the first place. But every single MMO in existence has a fucking queue system for their dungeons. Every single fucking one. Okay? So, yes, a queue system 1000% would fucking solve this issue. It would solve it back in Legion, it'll solve it now, it'll solve it in the next expansion.
And the other thing they have to do is improve the difficulty of these dungeons, because a +6 is hard enough. In my opinion, it is not that hard. You are going to say if you play the game, but yes, a +6 is not hard. Yeah, it is not hard for you, it is not hard for me, but it is hard enough that people are gatekeeping it because they think that people being bad are going to make it so they don't complete the dungeon.
Yeah, so this right here, I'm going to just talk about this real briefly, but basically, what he's talking about here makes 100% sense when you think about it, because part of the reason why it's not just that people look at like tier lists like this and go, oh, well, you're down here, so I'm just going to take one of these. Like, right? Like, why would they take a fire mage when they take a frost arcane mage, right? It's not just that. It's also because of the fact that the key depletes, right? They don't want to waste their time. So they're not going to take classes or characters or specs that they don't know for a fact will be able to perform in such a way that they do not have to worry about their key depleting. So if they remove key depletions, guaranteed 100% a lot of this gatekeeping stops. Not all of it, I'm sure, but a lot of it stops.
So they are taking like people that are overgeared for the dungeon. Like, brother, I don't do a dungeon that I don't need. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I need to do all the dungeons that people take me to. I already don't need them. And the dungeons I do need, people don't take me. So you need to be greater than the dungeon you are trying to do to be accepted into parties. But at that point, you don't want to do it. So the system is screwed.
So real quick, I just want to hit on. Actually, I'll wait for the next fight and then I'll talk about the DPS. But you can see right here, DPS, 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 tank. Tank's doing half the DPS of both the hunters.
Adjust it so that a person like me, that I am ready to for +7s and +8s and +9s, I can.
And the healer's doing almost done because they have to do nothing but heal.
But I can't because
that's part of the reason why people don't like playing tanks and healers.
Are like scared to invite someone that is not overgeared and overrated because they think they are going to fail the key. But why do they think that? Because the difficulty curve is harder than before. When they did the shrinking of the keys, they made it so that now it is harder, basically. It is harder. And again, I thought it was going to be a good thing, but now in practice, it is turning out to suck. In Dragonflight Season 4, it was better, but I believe because the tuning of the dungeons was better. This time around, it isn't working out, in my opinion.
So real quick, I just want to back up again and show you the DPS meters. So Jacerus is this guy. He's the #1 DPS on the meters. Okay. This Paladin was one of the people that was a higher item level than him. Okay. So if someone with a higher item level is doing less damage than him, It's not. It's not because he's bad.
In my opinion. And Mythic Plus is like the main thing of the game, brother. Mythic Plus is what is giving life to this game because it is the thing you can spam. Like
Mythic Plus is the entire reason that the game still has a player base after the player base hits endgame. Mythic Plus, raids are not the end game of World of Warcraft. The open world is not the end game of World of Warcraft. PvP is not the end game of World of Warcraft. Mythic Plus is.
like you raids, you do it once a week. I like raiding more than doing dungeons, but I can't do it. I can't spam it. I have to play it once a week. But these dungeons,
Yeah, and that's why I say that raiding isn't the end game of World of Warcraft, is because you can't just spam it out.
I can't spam them and I can play a lot, and that is cool. So this is the main thing. This is the main game mode right now. So put a lot of love into this, brother, because there are a lot of casuals that are going to get in here. They are not going to get invited to groups. They are going to wipe in a +3. They are going to get discouraged and they are going to stop playing the game. So they need to manage these things. I am giving you 2 good ways of doing it. Give me a queue and give me not lower difficulty per se, a better tuning, a better scaling of your gear with the dungeons, because I like difficulty. I don't want it to be easy, but the difficulty right now is not aligned like the.
By the way, just want to point this out again. The tank is sitting at 40 million DPS. The next highest is sitting at 81 million. Jazarus is sitting at 94 million. And the Ret Pally is sitting at 98 million. Why would I play a tank doing 40 million when I can play a Hunter doing 85 million or a Paladin doing almost 100 million DPS? Why would I play the tank? The tank, is extremely boring. Why would I play the healer when all I'm doing is spamming chain heal? Or spamming heals in general? Why would I do that? There's no reason to. I would rather just play a fucking DPS and do hundreds of millions of DPS than a fucking tank who's doing not even half that, or a healer who's doing none.
The difficulty of the dungeon.
This is the balancing issue of Mythic Plus. Is this shit right here?
Your gameplay per se. So they need to improve that. Not necessarily making the game easier, but improving like at which item level and which crest do you get from each key level, because that is what happened. I need the crest that you get from a +9 to keep upgrading my gear, but no one invites me to that because they don't want to. But I am ready because that is what I need to keep upgrading my gear. I can't upgrade my gear unless I get into the dungeons, but they are not inviting me to there. And so what do? I am stuck. I've been stuck with my gear and my rating in Mythic Plus for two fucking weeks. I've been stuck. That is stupid. There is no progression. People get bored if you don't progress because the system is gatekeeping you. And it's gatekeeping you because people don't invite you and don't get into your keys because it is too difficult and there is no fucking queue and there are no healers and there are no tanks and the whole fucking thing sucks. Fix it. Do better. You can do it. I believe in you. This is the most played fucking system in your game. Just improve it, brother. You can do it. And yes, that is my rant about this whole Mythic Plus thing, because I wanna play the game. I wanna get my guy gear, and in past seasons in Dragonflight it was way easier, not necessarily because the dungeons were easier. It was easier to get into parties, to get to grade your gear, to get the scaling was better. Basically the scaling and the pairing of your rating and your item level to the dungeons was better. So apparently the squish to the keys that we thought was a good thing is not that good of a thing, because it is fucking everything over. Maybe the problem is not the key level. Maybe it is the upgrading system, and what they need to adjust is the upgrading system and what keys give what crest and all of that. Maybe that is what needs a little bit of adjusting, my brother. But something needs to be adjusted. And yes, guys, that is everything
It's
that
the
I wanted to
balancing.
tell you today. Let me know in the comments below what you think about it. Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I a clown? I love reading comments even when they don't agree with me, brother. Also, remember to like the video, to subscribe to the channel, all that cool stuff. Help me out, my dude. Guys, thanks for being here. You guys are awesome. God bless you. And remember, don't be afraid ever, because this is just a ride.
Yeah, so
Wait,
I want to look at this last fight that they were having real quick. This one right here. Right. So I just want to point something out right here, right? This is about like, they've just started the fight, but you can see immediately the difference between the tank down here at 5.5 million and Jazzrus, who has done barely anything, sitting at 14 million. Right? The tank has done, probably an equal amount of rotations or button presses, right? But has done about maybe a third of the DPS of Jazzrus pressing a couple buttons. Now, if we go towards the end of this fight, right, we see that the tank has gone from 5 million up to not even 20 million. Both the hunters are sitting at 41 and 47 million, and the Ret Pally here is sitting at 52 million. This is the issue with Mythic Plus, is the DPS of all the classes. Tanks, no one wants to play a tank because they do almost no damage. No one wants to play a healer because they do literally no damage, right? This is just a fact of like why people do and don't play certain classes, is because the damage that they are all doing just isn't even comparable, right? DPS just do significantly more damage than all of the other classes, right? And so, if Blizzard wants to fix this system, what they need to do is they need to adjust the balancing. They need to remove the key depletions. They need to implement a queue system. They need to reward and incentivize people to actually play tanks and healers. And honestly, they need to punish people for just abandoning keys. Because abandoning a key, especially if you're a tank or healer, means the dungeon is basically failed and your key gets depleted through no fault of your own. And at some point, you have to basically just throw the key away because it'll send you to a dungeon that no one wants to fucking do. There's one last thing that I want to look at before I end this video. So this is also on Icy Veins. And this is item level of rewards for Mythic Plus in the weekly chest in The War Within Season 1. So, as we can see here, he was trying to get into a Mythic Plus 7. Okay. So the end of item or end of run item level is 610. That means that the items you get are generally going to be about 610 eye level, right? With the weekly reward being 616. This means that Jazzrus's average item level is only 3 item levels below the highest, the weekly reward for the Mythic Dungeons that he was wanting to run, with 613 being the highest in Mythic Plus 6. This is why he was saying he wants to do Mythic Plus 7. This is why he doesn't want to do Mythic Plus 6. It's because Mythic Plus 6 literally does not do anything for him, right? Now, of course, he had some item levels we can see towards the beginning of the video right here. We can, of course, see that he does have some gears, like this one is 610. This is 606, 606, 610, some 606, right? We can see that he has a few that aren't at 613. But with the vast majority of his gear being at either 610, between 610 and 619, we can see that like the majority of the rolls he's getting are not going to even be an upgrade. At best, it'll be like 3 item levels, which might get him 1 average item level improvement, but probably won't until he gets like 3 or 4 of them, right? And the majority of his gear is like 619. Like, let's see, he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So half of his gear, right, is 619, which is the at the high end of a +8. Okay. So realistically, if he wants to get an actual upgrade for the majority of his gear or for half of his gear, he needs to do +10 or higher. So when he sits here and says that he could smash a +10 and he's sure of that, he's confident of that, it's because, brother, half his fucking gear is coming from a +10, right? So the fact that he's not even getting accepted into a +7 means that it's not his spec, it's not his item level, because as we can see, when he puts up his own queue, right, we can see the item levels for the fucking people joining his fucking queue, right? Joining his party finder. So we like he is not even exaggerating the slightest. The only reason why he isn't being taken is because of this, because of the tier list. And the reason why this tier list exists is because there is a heavy incentive to play the best classes. There's a heavy incentive. And because there's a heavy incentive, people will only take the best classes. And why will they only take them? It's because your key depletes. Why does your key deplete? Because Blizzard thinks that's a good idea. It's not. It never has been. It's always caused this issue. And granted, this issue has existed even before the Mythic Plus system existed, right? People will not, a lot of servers, people won't take you to like raids and whatnot if your item level is below a certain amount, right? And so this is the issue. On top of that, there's something else I want to point out, which I think I could just yeah. So right here, if we look at this is at Max Roll GG, right? So this is their tier list for their like their low to mid range item levels, right? And this is their tier list, right? If we come over here, you know, we just kind of flip back and forth, you'll begin to see a difference, right? With the low or with the low to mid range, there's an F tier, number one, and that's like the first most immediate thing you'll see, right? But then you also see there is no D tier, right? Like they skip over D tier entirely and go to F tier. Now, City of Threats is an F tier for low to mid tier dungeons. But okay, City of Threats, if we look at this, has been raised to D tier. The F tier has not been removed, and D tier is here. And if you don't know, D tier is always above F tier in tier lists. That means that it's gone up. But at the same time, Grim Batal has gone down, right? And why is this? Why are there changes like this that are so drastic between these? That's because of the rewards and incentives that you're given, right? If we look over here, Mist of Tirna is in S tier for both the low tier and the high tier, whereas the Necrotic Wake drops, right? And then this one, Arakara, has been bumped up to A tier. The Siege of Borlis stays in A tier. The Dawnbreaker, right? It goes from C tier to B tier. The Stone Vault stays in C tier, right? So there is you could just look at the tier list. You can see there's a tier to the dungeons, and the higher the tier is, so the Mist of Tirna, I guarantee you. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know, but I guarantee you, if you want to do like a +9 or higher Mist of Tirna, I guarantee you the majority of people are not going to take you if your class is not in the top 5. End of story. They're just not going to do it, right? Because they want to guarantee, because this is considered the best Mythic Dungeon to do in both low, mid, and high tier, right? Like that's just like end of story, full stop. Like this is just facts, right? And so this is the problem: is the scaling, is the incentives, and like it, brother. This has been the fucking the reason why uh it's been this way since I was playing the fucking game. Um so like yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to say. And it's like not really. Blizzard, they need to work on actually balancing the classes such that this isn't really a factor, right? They need to make tanks and healers fun to play. They need to give incentives to classes and specs that are not being played as much. And they need to do better with like tier systems, right? Like City of Threats, no one's gonna fucking do it because it's fucking ass. These three, they might do it if they have a key and they need to do it in order to do like a +6, right? Or whatever. Like if they feel like they need to do it to keep progressing, they'll do it. B tiers, they're gonna do it if they personally enjoy the dungeon and they think they can do it pretty quickly. A and S tier, people are gonna do no matter what. Right, like A and S tier, these are the dungeons that everyone wants to do. S tier, you're not going to get into it unless you're in like the top 5, top 10. Right, that's just how it is. So yeah, Blizzard, do better. You can do better. We all know you can. So yeah, thank you all for coming to my corner. I've been Deep as always. Hit the like button, hit subscribe if you liked the video. If you didn't like the video, hit the dislike, leave a comment, let me know why I'm wrong. And I will see you all next time.